and welcome to Queer Onda El Paso. I'm Ted.
I'm Izzy.
And I'm Ceci.
We are calling this episode Family and Business. Running a family business is both rewarding and challenging. This has been especially true for the Ardivino family. For more than 70 years, the Ardivinos have been in business in the El Paso area. Now, under the third generation of the family business, siblings Robert and Marina Ardivino run Ardivino's Desert Crossing with a commitment to local, sustainable quality.
Today, we talk to Marina about her family business, coming out as lesbian, and the changing landscape for queer-owned businesses in our area. We also talk to David Villanueva, who organizes the market events hosted at the property. He invites all of us to come out to the Pride Market on May 25th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., which will showcase a variety of vendors, entertainers, and delicious food. Marina and David, welcome to Queer Onda El Paso.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. Marina, I'd like to start by just learning a little bit about your story. You know that almost everybody in our community knows the Ardivino's name, and everybody enjoys your food and your events, but we don't know a little bit of the background of how your family got started in the business, when they started in the business, and how it came to change hands to your capable hands.
Thank you. So, we are third generation for this particular business, but of course my parents, Joe and Maria, had Ardivino's gourmet shop for many years. For I think it was about 30 years that they ran that. This place, Ardivino's Desert Crossing, is what brought my great uncle to El Paso. I mean, what brought my father to El Paso was to help his great uncle that had different locations. He was an interesting, colorful man who was involved in gambling and had bars back in the day. And he had different locations in El Paso and then eventually in New Mexico, because New Mexico you could have a bar and you could serve drinks by the drink, where Texas, El Paso was still dry back then. And so he ran different establishments. This was kind of going to be his pièce de résistance. He bought it, and the same year that he bought it and opened it, New Mexico raided all the casinos and closed this place along with it. And it was closed for a couple years, and he reopened as a restaurant. So it was to be opened as a gambling establishment, and quickly was not open for long doing that. And then all those years that my great uncle was running different locations, different gambling places, my father came back and forth from New York and eventually decided he absolutely loved El Paso and the weather more than New York, and settled here.
Oh, that was my question. When you talk about your father kind of coming into the business, it was from New York.
Yes, it was from New York. So he came, and he used to work for his uncle, and his uncle was a challenging person to work with. So my dad eventually opened Ardivino's Gourmet on Cincinnati across from UTEP, and quickly after met my mom, and they ran it for many, many years together.
When was that? What year was that?
So that was 1960. I want to say 65 is when my father opened that. And then he met my mom soon after. So they were like, the joke is they were the only two Italians in El Paso.
And they were shopping at his shop, and that's how they met, right?
They cornered the market.
And then cut to having a family. Your mom and dad had a family.
Right.
And the business continued. So you grew up kind of, in my mind, kind of a very idyllic life, in that it's very nice to have a family-owned business, and particularly a gourmet shop, and to be a child with that environment. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, the other joke is, right, we slept under the tables at Ardivino's Pizza. So I would walk from Missy to school and go work, and then take naps under the chairs, and my brother would take a nap under the oven. And we grew up in just the most amazing place you could, which is a place full of pizza and happiness and feeding people. So we grew up in that scenario. Eventually, of course, my brother and I both went off to school. My parents had decided they had had the business for long enough. My mom worked continuously for many, many years. And so they decided to sell. And it all was kind of strange that was maybe the time frame my brother and I both moved back. I lived in Italy for 3 years. He was living in LA, in Pasadena. And we both kind of moved back, and my parents had sold the store, and we had this place that my dad held on to for over 20 years. And it was dormant with somebody, watching over it, who basically it was his bachelor pad for a long time.
Wow, quite a bachelor pad. My gosh.
It's super cool, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah. So he was an artist. And anyway, so we started renovating and kind of haven't stopped. It's been 20, almost 30 years.
And so you and your brother both run the Ardivino's Desert Crossing here. And what's that like, working with a family? I mean, growing up in a family business, I think you've already probably learned all the ins and outs, but what are some of the challenges?
Yeah, it was very different. Working with my folks was different than working with my brother without my folks. So without my folks around, definitely challenging. Every day we're both very stubborn. We have real specific ways we look at things. I mean, I think at the end people say, oh, it's such a nice, he does this and you do that. So I think, removing me from being me, I guess that is the nice thing, is he handles things, he's always in mind with growth and making the play bigger and having more things going on, where I'm just running the day-to-day and keeping our feet on the ground, keeping everything functioning well, and good food and good service.
And so how long have you all been open as Ardivino's Desert Crossing?
Yeah, this is our 26th year.
26 years. So you're just getting started, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can be called a rookie, really.
I know, 26, that sounds like a good year to end.
Every year, I'm sure. It's like, was that a good year?
I want to take a little segue, because I want to know about you spending time in Italy. What was that like?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So I went to school in California. I went to UC San Diego in La Jolla, which was a great place, right? I didn't really think much about, other than, the beach is right there, and the dorm's right there. Like, you can walk to the beach. That was my thinking. So I knew I wanted to go there. I went there, and then they had an exchange program through the UC system. So that was supposed to be a year-long program that you go and study in Italy, and I was in Venice. Even though all my family was down south, there weren't programs down south, so it was up in Venice. It was incredible. I think the years there, so I went and did that year. I absolutely did not want to come back. I went again on my own. I stayed with friends that I made and kind of worked teaching English and just traveled. Then I was like, I guess I have to graduate. So I went back to UCSD. I graduated, and then I went to Italy again, because I truly had every intention of staying there, finding a job on my own, which is super stupid, because I had friends and family that could have helped me figure that out better. So I stayed the last year, and then thought, okay, well, I'll get a job in Italy, but from the United States. That'll be easier. No, not so easy. So in the meantime, we had this property, and my brother was moving back, and I was here, and we just started working on the place. But Italy taught me the rest of what I needed. Like growing up with my mom and my dad, my dad would teach me the books, and the service part was my mom and the food there. But Italy taught me the other part of it, like wines and communication, and a different thought process of food, right? So the rhythm of life there, very different than the United States. Everything revolves around what you're eating that day, and going to the store and getting the freshest product and getting the best thing that exists. And everybody does that. That's how it works there. Here, food's so processed. It's very different. So I think it taught me a lot that also helped me be able to do what I'm doing here.
I was going to ask, and so that obviously influenced the way you approach your business, and bring that experience to the table, quite literally to the table.
Absolutely.
And what was your thoughts when you first came back to El Paso, having been gone for a period of time? Did you perceive any growth or changes in the El Paso community at large, or the city itself? Did you...
I mean, it seems to me El Paso continues to grow physically, but the way it works still, to me, seems like a very small town. There's very little degrees of separation between me running into you on the street. I'll have a 2-minute conversation. I'll find out your cousin is my wife's cousin. Yes. Whatever it is.
Absolutely.
That's El Paso. And even outside of El Paso, when you run into El Pasoans, so to me, El Paso was growing, and it still is. But I think the environment is more of still a kind of a small town mentality where everybody knows everybody. And that's why I love it here. I love El Paso. I think I think people rag on El Paso, but when you go and see other places, I mean, for me, it wasn't Italy that I left, but like let's say people go to Dallas, right? You're in traffic all the time. There's so many different dynamics that you just don't deal with here. So I think a lot of people don't appreciate what we have here, and I did come home and appreciated El Paso even more when I was gone.
You know, one of the very strong common themes that we always touch on in every episode is El Paso's strong family connection, and how it seems to be the core of a lot of our social life, even more so than other cities. And I find that interesting. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your personal coming out story, and how you either triumphed or struggled with that, and how your family reacted to that. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I think I'm trying to remember. Most of my friends were very accepting, and high school it was never on the table because I was so sports focused, and I could care less about girls, boys, anything. That was my life, was hanging out, going, partying, dancing, and playing sports. So I think it came a little bit more to light for me later on, like in college. And I think my brother, I mean, everybody else knew, but I think my brother, I never talked about it, and of course he knew, because people know, but I think my brother, I told him over like a Whataburger or something, and it was like, what is the day you're supposed to come out? Is it National Coming Out Day?
Yes.
Whatever it was, and I think we were in California.
You actually did that on October 11th?
October 11th,
I did,
yeah.
over Whataburgers, and he was, cool enough about it. He's like, yeah, whatever. But then the bigger thing, obviously.
Are you going to eat your fries?
Yeah.
Right. But the bigger thing was like actually again vocalizing it to my parents. So my parents, I give them all the credit in the world. My mom grew up in a convent during the war in Italy, had a horrible upbringing, horrible life, and that's why she got away and was a nanny and moved to England, and then from England moved here because they were a military family and they were stationed in Fort Bliss. That's how small the world is. Yeah. But my mom basically grew up in a convent, and my father, of course, he grew up in New York in all Catholic schools, and of an older generation where you didn't talk about certain things, etc. But when I finally felt the need to verbalize and vocalize, and I was crying, and my mom was like, oh my God, and I told her, and she was just so sweet about it. And I think she reacted the way any parent should. You're my kid. It doesn't matter that you're telling me this. I'll always love you, and it doesn't matter. And she knew my wife now. We grew up together. We've on and off been together since we were 16 years old. So she was already a part of our family without my mom doing these pieces. And then when we truly came together, they helped us buy our house together. I mean, they were just lovely. But I don't want to pretend it was easy for them. It's certainly not. Their journey's different too. But, when we had our commitment ceremony here before we could legally get married, my dad said, I'm not sure that I could come. And he did end up coming, and God bless him. He was real quiet, but he was here, they were lovely. And, I think it's more a fear of how other people are going to treat you or me in this case is what they were or my dad at least, I think, would put him off, like, oh my God, are people going to find out and not go to the restaurant?
A fear of,
like
yeah.
It's interesting because I think a lot of parents approach their children coming out not with fear, not with hate, but rather with this intense love, because they want to make sure that you're not going to expose yourself to undue hurt. Right. And so it's interesting that you have that perspective, because you know that they were wonderful and supportive, and it sounds like a beautiful story, but you also appreciate the fact that it wasn't necessarily easy for them.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. And I think with time, passing and people being exposed to more things, it should get easier, but it just seems like the world's so goddamn complicated, and that it can't just progress in a decent way.
To that end, well, first of all, let me start by asking you, how long have you and your wife been committed to each other? Let's put it that way.
Forever. I don't even know. I'm the husband. I don't remember the dates. It's hard because, like I said, she was the first person that I had feelings for, and
Since 16.
yeah, it may have even been 15. See, that's how bad. I hope she doesn't listen to this. But anyway, forever, and then we weren't together, and then we finally got together. So to me, it's been like my whole life is what it feels like, but it's a long time.
And so now, when you identify, and you say, this is my wife, and you are the business owner, and so, there's no repercussions from human resources or anything like that. Yeah. But have you? What are your experiences being a minority business owner in El Paso, given some of the political climate that we have right now? Have you encountered any kind of challenges there or not?
I mean, realistically, I think the people that come here that have been coming here for years know me. Whether or not they know I have a wife or a husband or kids or whatnot, maybe they don't all know everything about me, but I do think most of them do. So that's never been anything that's I've thought of, or I do know that thinking about it, before Claudia and I were legally married, I certainly wouldn't call her my wife. I would say my partner. And I was thoughtful. If it was an older person that I didn't want to make them uncomfortable, not because I cared, but I didn't want to make them uncomfortable where they're going to be like, ooh, I'm not sure how to react to this kind of thing. So I would say the partner. Now, once we legally got married, I'm like, that's it. Now it's on you. You figure it out. However you want to deal with it, you deal with it. I think the only repercussions we've had is when we've had events that people find out, or we send it, we'll send out our email and then they'll email back, oh my God, I didn't know that about you and I'm never coming to your restaurant again. And it's like, thank you for telling me. I'm so glad you'll never be back to my restaurant again. Because really, all this time you'll know me working my butt off, trying to take care of everybody, loving my job, loving my customers, but that's what you're going to respond to me after finding that out. Well, then yeah, you're not welcome either. Please don't come back.
That's an interesting angle, because it seems to me like because you all are very visible in terms of your support of the LGBTQ community in various events. We'll talk to David about that in a minute. But it does come even at a very small price, where you do put your business out there in a particular light, and it may alienate, although it may just be a handful of people, but it still alienates some people. And I think that that's probably the right attitude. Say, if you don't, nobody's forcing you to come to our establishment. This is open for everybody, and you have the ability to support the causes and the people with which you identify.
Right. Yeah, and I think El Paso is just a super friendly. So I describe it a little bit of the don't ask, don't tell, right? So we do a lot of weddings. I wish we did a lot more gay weddings, but we do the amount that we do. Yeah. And even when it's just, somebody's regular wedding, you can tell the two chicks in the suit, that's the cousin and the girlfriend, they're there. There's nobody chastising. They may not talk about everything that's going on with them, but they are present at that wedding, and it's over and over, and it's every wedding and bar mitzvah that you can tell. Again, I can tell, David can tell when they're walking. We're like, oh, okay, well, hi, your family over there. So to me, I still think El Paso is just that style of town, and family is family. Exactly. So I think it's a great thing, and it truly does make me happy. And to have appointments with people that have gone to other facilities that have chastised them or flat out said, no, I'm sorry, we're not going to do your wedding here. We'll do your reception, but we're not going to do your wedding because we don't believe in that. I have a real big problem with that. Then don't take their money at all. Don't do anything.
Yeah, certainly do not support a business that's not going to support you.
Right. But it has happened. We've had people come from different places and be like, oh, I was sent to you because I know you would treat me right. And I'm like, oh, yeah, heck yeah, we're family. I'm taking care of you.
Well, that's really comforting to hear. And it's almost one of those things where even if you're an ally or not, gay or lesbian or anything in between, it's just nice to know that the culture of your business is welcoming to all.
Absolutely. Yeah, we joked for a little bit that we were majority gay owned. I mean, the employees. We had more gay employees than we did for a while. It was so funny. Yeah.
It sounds like a fun place to work.
Well, and in my experience, a lot of LGBTQ people are service people and make excellent service people. I find.
Well, I'll say one thing. If you want a fabulous wedding, you need gay people.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't care. I think most brides, heterosexual brides, have figured that out too.
Right? You have an event coordinator that's a little light in the loafers. They're going to take good care of you.
Marina, what has become, or how has your business philosophy evolved? Or how do you approach your business? How do you approach it as part of your overall life?
I don't know that there's been any necessary evolution. I think how we've started and just persevered with hard work and trying to do things the best that we can in a fair working environment too. I think even with employees, I don't want people here that aren't happy here. Whether it's something here or your personal life you're bringing, I want you to be happy here, and I think people see that. They'll tell me, "Oh my God, your staff's incredible," and hopefully, again, it's because we have a nice place to work. We all kind of care about each other, and we want to make sure that, that shifts are successful, that we're elevating each other and helping each other do a good job. So I don't know that me personally, that much has changed for me. I think I've been the same way. I've been, obviously, it's a lot easier doing this job at 20-something than it is 50-something, but that's
the energy
part of it
level,
too.
yeah.
That's part of it too. You get older. And I think, it's just maybe being a little bit more savvy and understanding of things, because that's a lot of years of different scenarios that have played out for such a long time. And having had so many employees and, so many lovely customers. Like, that to me is why I'm still here. People are, I can rag, and David and I are vocal when we're alone in the office about a lot of political things and different things. But in the end, here I feel so overjoyed that we generally just have lovely people that appreciate what we're doing. And when we don't, you can tell. There's somebody comes in and they'll complain about 10 things, and you're like, oh my God, we made that by hand, and whatever it is, and you just get it. Like, this is not their scene, and they maybe are used to a little bit more of just kind of fast food or chain restaurants. And we get it, we're nice to them too. But, it's just a little bit different. So I'm blessed to, I think, have the philosophy of just trying to take care of people, whether it's employees or customers.
Well, I think we can all agree that that's certainly reflected. Anybody that spent any time here, that culture is palpable. That that there's a culture of welcome, that you are welcomed, and that people are all trying to do the best that they can. And some days are perfect, some days aren't, but that's okay.
Right, and it has to do with how you take care of the non-perfect thing that's happened. Like, for me, that's absolutely it. Like, I'm like, something happens, I fess up to it. Oh my God, we had an hour-long ticket this past week, and because by accident the ticket got placed somewhere. It happens, but it's how you take care of them and be like, I'm truly sorry about that. Nobody wants to go out to eat and have to wait a ton of time, and etc. But that's what I try to do.
So, that, like I had mentioned before, it's no secret that you all are strong supporters of many communities, the LGBTQ community as well. How do you feel when you are regarded as sort of like a strong business ally? And what would you recommend for other businesses to understand that this is a way to help everybody succeed in our community?
I think it is a good way of putting it. You're doing it to help other people succeed. And I think that's actually a good point with the community that's always kind of stuck in my craw a little bit. And again, David and I have had this conversation before, is I don't think the I'm really bad with all that.
Yeah,
I don't think the gay community necessarily supports itself how it should. And all these years, to me, it seems kind of the same thing. I joke that we have, we get so excited about our events, and David being so principal and for years in all these events that he would MC for us, and go downtown and take posters, and they'd be all, yeah, we'll put it up. And then I'll go back the next day and they're like, oh yeah, it went in the trash the second you walked out the door. And I'm like, because people can't think of not being at the bars like one night, and they can't support something that's outside of the neighborhood. I think that's something, and me living in the gay bar, I used to go out a lot when I was young, Wattis, the gay bars, etc., and had a blast. I loved it, and I knew everybody, I knew the owners, etc. But I feel like once it's something outside of their realm of, no, it's mine, and rather than to look at a bigger community, I think Sun City Pride is definitely trying to branch out, get more involved outside of the gay community to show, hey, we're part of the community too. And that's what it all needs, is everybody to have that realization of, it isn't never just about you. It's never about just your business. It's never about just you as a person. It's about everybody, gay or not. But that's where I've just had an issue all these years that we try to do plays or the brunch barks and bingo. And I'm like, where are my gay people? There'll be like all the old people that will come to support the actual organization, whether it's Animal Rescue or whoever. But I'm like, where's all the people from the bars that should be here? So I think that's something that's bothered me a long time. And I wish it was more of a, like, this is a community event that the gay community supported.
Right, and not so centered on just the bar life.
Right.
And I do think that one of the things that we're learning is that El Paso's gay community, and I agree with you, gay is so much easier to say than LGBTQ.
Yes, thank you.
But El Paso's gay community is really kind of at a precipice of change and breaking through some of that outside of the bars. I mean, we have the Borderland Rainbow Center. We have events that are specifically non-alcohol or non-bar related, and a lot of the events that you all have hosted here, but it just seems like we're just turning the corner in terms of support and attendance.
So we were doing our events way too early.
No, you can look at it that way. You can look at it that way, or you can say you all were pioneers. Because think of where we would be without those previous events to look back on and see where we are. I mean, you all. I mean, there's always the first that's going to take the most flack, and the ones that have to kind of take the most beating. But I think that now, over time, I think the community's a little bit more supportive in that we are casting a wider net outside of the bar community. So tell us a little bit, David, about some of the events that you have hosted in the past that would be welcome kind of venues for LGBTQ people to come and have a good time.
Well, I mean, in the past, we used to host the big one that I could think of right off the top is Barks Brunch and Bingo, which was a big drag bingo event that Marina started to help raise funds for the Animal Rescue League. And the first couple of years, maybe 1 or 2 years they did it, it was just dogs and brunch. Come bring your dogs and enjoy brunch. And then Marina called me up and was like, can we have you MC and do a drag bingo? I'm like, perfect, sure, yeah, why not? So I came out. Maria Guadalupe Margarita Teresa Santanos Clay Chavez Smith Estes, or Boom Boom for short, came out to host, and it was fun. And we did that for a couple of years until right before the pandemic, and then of course we had to stop. But in the past, I've also hosted plays here that I've produced myself. With all my own money and paid the actors and everything. And I did those as benefits for local nonprofit groups in the community as well. But when I started here 3 years ago as a job, full-time job, with the markets, managing the markets, one of the big things I wanted to do was do a pride market. And so that's what we're doing on May 25th. We're having a huge pride market out here. And it's going back to what Marina was saying. We always get told that all these people are going to come out, and they don't from the bars. They don't come support the market, and I wish they would. But it's a fun event, and it's a great, fun family event.
Yeah, tell us about the Pride Market. What is involved?
So the Pride Market, it is, when I started it, we did it 1 year, and I was actually in drag for that year, in face and everything. And then I thought, you know what, I really need to partner with, get together with an organization in town that we can help, share resources. So that's when I contacted El Paso Sun City Pride, and they jumped on the idea. And so this year is going to be the 3rd annual Pride Market at Ardivino's Desert Crossing, produced in partnership with El Paso Sun City Pride. But it's a great day event. We have about 50 to 60 local vendors out here that people can shop from. Great food that you can get from Ardivino's Desert Crossing, of course. We'll have drag performances from local drag queens. We have DJ Trust this year, who's going to be playing on the bandstand. So it's a fun, lively, family-orientated, family-geared event. I envisioned it as being an event for those gay couples in our community that can bring their kids to enjoy a morning out and not feel harassed, shamed, because of their family dynamic. I wanted it to be all-inclusive. And that's what I envisioned that this market to be about. And I mean, every market is envisioned that way too, but to have that one special market where it's all just fun. And we do a dunk tank that raises funds for the scholarship fund for El Paso Sun City Pride as well. So it's just a good day to come out.
Yeah, perfect. What kinds of things will be sold at the market?
Oh, we have everything from, we have local vendors who do jams and jellies to pride scarves and pride flags and everything. You can find a little bit of everything. Jewelry, clothes. It's a little bit of everything. Plus, with the Pride Market, and if this airs before the Pride Market actually happens, local LGBT-owned businesses are actually encouraged to come out, apply as a vendor on our portal first and foremost, and then come out and then, give out information on their businesses. So that way people can see that there are more LGBTQ businesses out there that we need to try to support.
Great. And do you have the portal address?
I do have the portal address. All people can do is go to www.ardivinos.com, click on the Markets tab in the navigation bar, or click on and then go down to where you see Become a Vendor. Click on that. That'll give you all the information.
And just to recap, the Pride Market is on
Saturday, May 25th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Can I touch on something that was actually very contentious?
Certainly.
That was last year.
Was last year.
The drag queen storytelling. So that was the time frame, right? That you're hearing about all these crazy things. And that's when you know how great El Paso is, because you hear about all these insane things happening in Florida and whatnot. But to me, the market and what has gotten established is that exact sense of what David said, of family. So my kid was here. Other kids seeing families in a super positive way. The drag queens, the little kids were fascinated. It was the sweetest thing ever, and they'd give them things, and the drag queens would give the kids things, and they would dance together. It was beautiful. I think I cried probably 3 times during the market, because it was just such a great, just a great vibe. But then you have the emails of you're doing the drag queen storytelling hour, we're not coming, and it's like, there's so many bigger things in life to worry about than something as entertaining as a drag queen reading. I mean, I don't get it, but...
The theory that drag queens are indoctrinating children into becoming sexual predators and pedophiles is just mind-boggling to me, because if you look at the history of who's actually doing that stuff, it's not drag queens.
No, of course not. No.
So, I mean, that's a whole other topic for a whole other podcast.
Let's face it, most drag queens are so self-centered that why would they bother?
Right?
No, it is absolutely true. And Marina made a good point. That just this past year, Texas was making a move to do the drag bans. And of course, it failed in the legislation, which is, it should.
Correct.
But because El Paso is what it is, we're not part of the Texas political stream, where one would think the conservative political side of it. We're part of New Mexico, literally where we're sitting and talking to you today. We're in New Mexico. And so we're in our own little bubble. And it's kind of like, our own little corner of the world. And our politics are different, I think. Our attitude about family, it helps fuel a lot of the acceptance that we have for everybody here, not just the gay people, but just a lot of people, it seems to be.
I always used to call El Paso the red step-headed child of Texas. if that's still politically correct, I don't know.
Even if it isn't, it's right.
We were the little orphan of the rest of the state of Texas.
And us orphans have to stick together.
Exactly.
I'll tell you one thing. I would never live in any place else in Texas other than El Paso.
Totally,
No,
100%.
absolutely.
I say it at least once a weekend.
And I think it's a jewel that we're here. We're on the border of New Mexico. We're in Texas and on the border of Mexico. So the amount of cultures and the amount of things that we are exposed to, that's a unique experience. I think that's brilliant about El Paso.
Well, and what I always remind people about this little community of ours is that we are the largest international border community in the world. There are no 2 other cities other than El Paso and Juarez that make up a larger international border community in the world. We're it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that fact. El Paso is a population of almost 700,000, where Juarez is a population of a little over 3 million. That's a huge community. And yes, it's such a small town.
Absolutely.
And in a charming way.
Yes.
I mean, because, I think, again, like we had talked about, the particularly the gay community has really made a lot of strides. David was asking us, Marina, about how we got started doing our podcast, and a lot of the things that drove it is the change and the growth in the gay community, and the fact that Izzy and I have got a real perspective of what it was to be in the bars 25 years ago, and where we were back then. We always talk about how we would almost kind of duck through alleys to get into the bars, and people weren't supposed to see you there, and if you saw somebody there, then what are they doing there?
And there were people that, at work weren't out, so you couldn't say anything if you saw them there, that kind of thing. Yeah, I was there too.
And now
I was there too.
And now cut to the fact that we have Pride Square. The last Pride parades have been extremely impressive in terms of the participation from corporations, from businesses. It's all very encouraging, and I am most encouraged by the fact that at your Pride Market, you're going to have so many vendors. And that tells you that there's a huge movement of just the local business community wanting to reach out to other types of communities.
And support. I mean, that's all it comes down to, is just show your allyship, or,
And it works both ways, as Marina was saying, because one thing I am a big proponent of is that I'm always at farmers markets. I like to support local farmers and support local vendors, and
then I need to see you more at ours on Saturday mornings. I'm here every Saturday at 5 a.m. and I don't see you.
I've been here in the past, and we enjoy it. I'm very excited. You will see us at this year's Pride Market. That's without a doubt. But I am very excited about that, and I'm glad to see that we're encouraging such commerce, because we do have a huge community of local artisans that are certainly wanting to show their support for our community, and this is a perfect venue to do that. But in return, we need to spend our dollars with them.
El Paso is realizing the financial, benefits of the gay community. That lesbians, gays, everybody, they have money that they want to come and spend in their community, and these businesses need to ally with them and find that they will help them out.
The gay population in this country is one of the richest per capita, communities in the country. So they have a disposable income like no other. And so because we don't have kids.
That's not true.
And we all have four-legged kids.
And they cost a lot more than two-legged.
They do.
But the economic impact is in itself something that I think that a lot of communities are starting to embrace, and certainly that's been the driving force in other communities when they realize that when a area of downtown and say other cities, for example, start to get a little dilapidated, the gays move in, and everything suddenly starts to glitter and rainbows everywhere, and suddenly there's a vibrant community there, and that is something that a lot of smart city leaders understand.
Absolutely. Old rundown neighborhoods get turned into fabulous new economic
we also know we know good real estate opportunities when we see them.
And how to turn that real estate into something beautiful.
So speaking of going back to real estate, one last thing I wanted to mention is that, of course, we are, for those that have never been to Ardivino's Desert Crossing, it is a truly unique setting in that, we're out in the country. We're just 2 minutes into New Mexico. We're right by Sunland Park Racetrack. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful location. It's a wonderful restaurant. It's a wonderful venue. What are some of the other things that people may not know about your property?
Let me just start off. Well, one thing is that it's actually the 75th anniversary this year of the property being in the Ardivino's family. So it's been in this family for 75 years, 3/4 of a century, and it's pretty amazing that they've had it in the family continuously, one family that long, and they've done an incredible job to it. You can have your events out here. We do, a weekly Saturday farmers market every Saturday morning. We're now doing a night market where people come out and enjoy the property at night, which is the first Wednesday of every month. Plus, all the events that we host out here, we have a great...
It's another avenue that I like to spend extra time is the nonprofit world, and making sure that their events are as successful as they can be here, and helping as much as we can with every aspect of them doing those. So we've, Animal Rescue is somebody we have true to heart because that was our first, like David said, our first the drag bingo. It was so much fun, and that's who would come support it. There's all these older folks that be like, be all, David, mind your P's and Q's.
Like, no. No.
He's wanting like a club type setting where you're, and we have all these older, and God bless them. That's who supported it all those years. So for me, I enjoy all the nonprofits, all the events that we have here. I love, like I said, getting people married, having them be successful, having them be comfortable here, no matter what their situation is. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and we try to keep it that way. Like, we've never just sat back and be like, people are like, oh, it must be easy now. You've been doing it so long. I'm all, oh my God, it's harder and harder. Life is more challenging, whether it's the government implementing different things that you have to struggle with as a business, or just life in general. Less people maybe going into the service industry. There's just a lot of different things that keep it being a challenge, but we try to keep our, this is where we want it to be. This is the level of service. This is the level of food quality. This is the level we want to keep it at. And it is a challenge to keep it there, but there's no going any other direction. There's no like, oh, we can let that go a little bit. No, you got to hold on to everything.
Your commitment is certainly evident, and I think that there might be another Italian chain restaurant. Its slogan is, when you're here, you're family, but that is absolutely true here. Yeah. But not only are when you're here, you're family, but you're among family. So, Marina, David, we thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
And we wish you all great success with the market and with all your future endeavors, and we'll do everything we can to help support.
Fantastic.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Your efforts.
And to our listeners, please support Ardivino's Market.
That's a wrap on this episode of Queer Onda El Paso.
Join us throughout the month of June as we celebrate Pride with a new episode every week. Until then,
Agarren la onda, queers.
As we celebrate Pride Month, we at Queer Onda El Paso encourage you to look at the businesses that are involved in Pride events. These are businesses that we as a community should support because they support us. We have included a list of those businesses that are supporting El Paso Sun City Pride this year on our website at www.queeronda.com. That's www.queeronda.com. You'll also find insights about how to support queer-owned and queer-friendly businesses in our area.
we'd love to hear from you. Email us at feedback@queeronda.com or visit our website and leave a comment.